Gentlemen, welcome to the Mighty Men Project. My goal is to both strengthen and empower men of God so that they can be a source of strength and power for those who depend on them. Today we're going to be discussing training for the giant. Let us open our Bibles to 1 Samuel 17:32. David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail on account of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." We are beloved creations designed by a creator who instilled us all with an innate desire for purpose. Whether we consciously realize it or not, many of our continual struggles are a result of us striving to either discover or utilize our individual talents and gifts in a meaningful and fulfilling way. As believers, we are often told to seek the kingdom and let God direct you as we grapple with this reality. But if we're being honest, many Christians don't even know what it means to truly do either of those things. During his earthly ministry, Jesus parceled out practical and far-reaching wisdom that was intended to be gradually unpacked in greater depth as one's understanding grew. Today, the church offers vapid platitudes and religious rituals, leaving a fractured body bereft of genuine spirit-led purpose. David's journey from a simple shepherd boy to arguably one of the most influential and powerful kings in recorded history is an important one. But the critical moments began long before he even stepped foot on the field of battle to face Goliath. While we have a tendency to focus on the profound successes or failures as the defining moments of a person's purpose, such as slaying a giant with a sling and a rock, in truth, it is the time spent training for the conflict that determines who we are, not just the crisis itself. When the moment comes, it is not so much a revelation as a continuation of direction, even if it was one you may not have expected to take. Many Christians anxiously wait for their chance to take on the giant when they can't even handle the sheep. Let us observe David as a youth before his famous confrontation, when he was likely no older than a teenager. His life was one of familiar obligation, as is evidenced by his role as a shepherd tending his father's flock. Neither his job nor his family position bore any real social status. In fact, he was completely overlooked when Samuel came looking for the sons of Jesse to anoint the new king in place of Saul, and was remembered only as an afterthought when Samuel pressed, something that we touched a little more in depth in the identity episode. Certainly, this was not the makings of a warrior, and certainly not a ruler of God's chosen people. It's no wonder we often see David as the classic underdog, but much like the story of Goliath, we would be mistaken to think so. It is here, often alone in the wilderness, with little more than his music and livestock for company, that David received the years of fundamental training that would allow him to excel in the very things he eventually became. For starters, to be a good shepherd required a brave spirit that could continually weather the many dangers of the wilderness, including isolation. David was not exaggerating when he spoke to King Saul of his encounters with the local predators. While it seems expected that a warrior would stand on the field of battle against an enemy arrayed against him in similar fashion, how many could claim they would chase down a bear or a lion and beat it to death with a club if it turned on them just to save a sheep? Which brings us to the second aspect of David's training, his compassion. It is one thing to be valiant in the face of danger of oneself, but to do so on behalf of something helpless that depends on you requires a heart of genuine mercy and empathy. There is a reason Jesus often likened himself to a shepherd and used examples of wayward sheep and his dedication to their recovery as his expression of selfless love and care. The level of David's dedication to his role required a combination of humility in the face of an often denigrated duty and a passion that transcended his obligations. He was afforded no real honor. and in many ways was actively disregarded in matters of importance, as is evidenced by his father's failure to include him in the original presentation to God's own prophet. Despite this, he killed ferocious predators for the sake of his family's wealth and even cultivated skills in the art of music, becoming so well known that he was later brought to perform for the king himself. These are not the actions of a bitter heart just going through the motions, but of someone who took a rather unsavory situation and devoted himself entirely to it. At a glance, it is easy to see David's early life as little more than a footnote before the real story begins, but it is critical that we recognize the impact his formative years had on his personality and practical abilities. By the time he met Goliath, he did not need divine inspiration to become the David we know. He was already that man. His father forgot him. His brothers tried to dissuade him. His king burdened him with tools that would not work, and the giant mocked his very existence. Yet, his dedication to the humble role as a shepherd provided him with everything he needed to accomplish what no others would. David knew who he was, not because he was given a job that he thought suited his talents, but because he devoted his talents to becoming suitable for what he was given for his God's sake. He did it for years in the face of real dangers and repeated humiliations, but he persisted right up to the day when he stood before kings and giants. When the dust had settled, he was not changed. He simply continued. He was given more responsibilities as he grew, but the fundamentals always remained the same. The zeal of his spirit, the compassion of his heart, the strength of his valor, and his passionate love for God that we all admire in him as a king was given to him as a shepherd. Do not despise your time in the pastures. You were placed there with the intent to learn and grow. What does this moment in time require of you? What skills are being actively developed and tested right now? What gifts or talents are being made apparent or becoming more focused in the circles you are part of? Purpose is not passive. Actively seek God about what He's forging in you for when you are called away to face kings and giants. In closing, let us consider our weekly meditation and ask yourself this question. Do you know what your skills are, both practically and spiritually? If so, how are you honing them? If not, how do you intend to discover them?